It's hard to really get any confidence from your family if you're not willing to take the necessary steps. And some of you are just holding on. You have these big ambitions, but you find yourself in the same place. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo, and I want to thank you for joining me on this early Monday morning. And today, my Monday today started just like many others, which is getting up early in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and heading over to the gym, right? Making sure that I go through a process. There's a process that I do every morning. By the time I wake up, to brushing my teeth, getting ready, and then going into the kitchen, getting my protein shake, getting my pre-workout, while listening to something positive, right? Something positive, whether it's an audio book, whether it's a podcast, and sometimes it's old recordings that I've done over the past, just reminding of the things that I've proclaimed, all the things that I've desired in life, and comparing it to where I'm at today. And what I love about this is that I'm taking the initial steps to put me in the right place, right? I'm not just rolling out of bed feeling anxious about how behind I am. I'm not rolling out of bed not knowing what I need to do. It is a simple process that has worked with these unreal results. And these are the things that I've taken on a daily basis to put me in the right place so that I can make the right decisions towards the very things that I want in life. And every morning, there's different conversations when we go work out, and I work out with anywhere between 7 and 10 guys, at the gym. And some days are more quiet than others. Some of us are just in our own minds and we're just focused on the workouts. And today was one of those days where I just had a great conversation with an individual regarding taking the necessary risks and making the necessary decisions for our families, right? Because I think the first thing when we think about risk is I don't want to put my family at risk. That's why I'm not moving or making these decisions that'll put my family at risk. And what I've realized over the years is when we fail to take these risks, we're doing exactly that for our family. We're putting them at risk. We're putting them at risk of growth, at risk of expansion, right? We risk a prosperity not happening for our families because we are playing it too safe. And one of the things that I've realized is that, sticking our necks out is kind of a risk. I remember creating my first video, how big of a risk that was, right? It was a risk to my ego. But it was a necessary risk to do what I'm doing now with the different camera angles. If I look over here, I got a different camera angle. And as a matter of fact, I have it so good that I have one right behind me. Right? I have a camera angle right here where I'm able to talk to you and learn the technology and learn the required skill sets that it took to create this type of environment. But it was sticking my neck out and realizing that I just can't stay where I was at. I can't continue to coach like Carla and I when we took on our first Do the Work clients back in 2014, where we charged $10,000 and we were literally coaching off our iPhones in our kitchen while Carla was out in the backyard doing the same thing. I couldn't just stay there. I couldn't just get comfortable there because that's exactly what I would get moving forward. Understand that a lot of us have put in the necessary steps, but we're still at this mindset that we can't take another risk. So we live in the same homes that we've been living for the last 5-10 years. We're driving the same car we drove for the last 5 to 10 years because we don't want to take the risk of actually losing it if something goes wrong with the market. But really, what we're doing is risking to be great. We're risking the whole fact that we need to get up, right? We're risking the fact that there is something greater for us. And we're risking all that because we're too afraid. We're too afraid to make the necessary steps. So we keep our families in the same homes, driving the same cars, doing the same things because it's too risky. When in fact, maybe you're just too afraid to take on the additional leadership that it requires to always be at that level. And I get it. Like when we have so much pain from the past, when we've lost, when we've, have been embarrassed by foreclosure or bankruptcy or repossession, the last thing we want to do is be at that level again, right? So we play it safe. And it's really hard to create the abundant lifestyle that we see, that we dream about. that we constantly think about if you're unwilling to take the necessary steps moving forward. It's a risk. Everything's a risk. Creating a live video is a risk. You might be embarrassed. But if you don't take that risk, you're going to stay exactly where you're at. Reaching out and not getting a call back is a risk. But if you don't take it, you're going to stay exactly there. And I think many of us, our ambitions and our goals and our visions drive us, right? We want these big things, but at the same time, it overwhelms us. And we stay exactly where we're at because we're unwilling to put our necks out, to stick our necks out. We're unwilling to risk a possible loss. So we stay there. And the only way to really get to the next level is to take the necessary steps and realize that you have to now live at that standard. And that's been the greatest lesson for me. As I risked it during a very hard time to get into this building, to going above and beyond what was required and say, I'm going to go ahead and make decisions of the person I will be in 2 years, of the person I will be in 5 years. I'm not just making decisions of the person I am today. And listen, it's hard to really get any confidence from your family if you're not willing to take the necessary steps. And some of you are just holding on. You have these big ambitions, but you find yourself in the same place. And it has nothing to do with the right timing. That one day is going to happen. Once business gets better, then I will buy a new house for my family. Even though we need it now, we're running out of space. As a matter of fact, the neighborhood is not where it needs to be to raise a family. But one day, when business gets better, then I will get a new house. I know we have a car that we're sharing, but one day when business gets better, then I will buy another car for my family. And it gets as narrow as once my wife or my husband starts treating me better, then I will show them the love and appreciation. And we have it all backwards. We have to take the necessary steps in order to make that happen. Because the time is never going to be better. The business is not going to ever be just right for you to make the next decision. It's making a decision now. And allowing yourself to live at that standard moving forward. And there's always going to be a risk attached to that. But there's a greater risk not making those moves. Complacency, mediocrity, and all the bad habits and behaviors that come attached to that. So as you start going throughout the week, you have to ask yourself, if I really want these next big things, and we have a business planning meeting. And I'm actually blown away by the amount of people that don't make it a priority. I'm blown away. It seems like our top 30, all of a sudden, they're the first ones to sign up. They're the first ones to realize how important it is to plan out what they want to go after and put their necks out. And do whatever it takes to get to that next level. And then you go from there and it's like, oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I have this thing planned. Like, cancel it. Reschedule it. And I'm blown away by the discrepancy, the difference between those that are living life at an ultimate high level and the excuses the other 80% come up with. And it's always that Paleo's rule, right? The 80-20 rule. 20% will always produce 80% or more. Because they understand that in order to go to that next level, they have to plan and take the necessary risks. Not worry about when it's going to be the right time, but deciding if I take these necessary steps, it is the right time today. And listen, 2021 is coming to an end. For some of you, it was very prosperous. For others, it was just a very stressed out, non-enjoyable experience. And much of that self-inflicted, refusing to do the right things and taking the necessary risks. And I understand. It's hard to make a decision when you don't have a baseline of making the right small decisions every single day. Waking up early, investing in yourself, investing in your family, learning something new about your business. Of course it's going to be difficult. So, like Edgar says, and he wrote, you risk prosperity when you don't take risks. He's listening. You're listening, Edgar, and you're a student. But I think like most of us, we still have a lot left on the table. We're required to rise. I had this conversation this morning, and I don't want to sound vulgar by any means, but I remember being part of this very elite mastermind, paying $60,000 plus just to be in this conversation, to be in this room. I took the risk of not having that money just to be in that room. And he started talking. Coach, our mentor, started talking to one of the other business owners. High producer, 7-figure plus earner. But he knew the very thing we all knew. He was still playing small. Coach just gets on the call and says, I'm tired of you watching. I'm tired of watching you just doing the same things over and over for the last 2 years. Having the same conversations over and over. Running into the same problems over and over. Too comfortable in the comfort. Why don't you fucking rise already? He was talking to me, yet he wasn't. And maybe this is the message you need to hear. Why don't you rise already? We got to come in with this mindset. And it starts today. It doesn't start January 1st. It starts by you stopping, by not making the moves. It starts by you. Let me rephrase that. It starts by you simply taking the risks necessary to get the very things you desire, the things you think about and you talk about, the very things you promise your wife, and your family, the very things you just always see but just can't seem to get. It's that time. Why don't you rise already? And guess what? I'm telling myself the same things. And I'm willing to stick my neck out. And I'm willing to take a loss. I'm willing to take the rejection. I'm willing to endure the pain. Are you? We all have the skill sets necessary, the mindset necessary to take the next logical step. It's that time. Guys, I'm going to make this short and sweet because I know we all have big visions in front of us. And I don't want to get too lost and just over explaining the what's required today. Just go. And you know exactly what the next move is. The very move you say, when business gets better, then I will do this. Do this now. Then business will get better. Build it now. Then they will come. Thanks again for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.